As many organizations race to implement generative AI, we find ourselves asking, is it truly delivering the outcomes and value that we expect? Are we really unlocking the full potential or just chasing what some people call a hype cycle? Hi, my name is Paul Harb, and in this season, we'll be having a series of conversations around generative AI and how IT leaders can best prepare their businesses for the new wave of technology. And I'm joined today by Dariush and Jordan. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Nice to see you all again.
Thanks for being here.
And we've got a really exciting topic today on what it truly means to realize the value of Gen AI. Our latest findings from the 7th Annual Enterprise Cloud Index, which is really a study that Nutanix sponsors, and it reveals that most organizations believe that Gen AI will boost productivity, automation, and efficiency. And this brings me to wonder, is AI truly living up to the expectations of IT leaders? Or could it be hype, as some people are calling it? So I'm going to start with Darius. What are your thoughts on this? Are we in a value cycle or a hype cycle?
So good to see you, Paul. So I think like any other IT projects, AI and generative AI projects are going through that curve and hype curve. And where we are, it's probably up to the audience to kind of make a judgment. But to give you some insight to help you to make that judgment around where we are in this hype cycle, probably worth knowing that Gartner points to the fact that almost 30% of the active projects, generative AI projects in the market right now, they have a potential chance of being abandoned. And they attribute it to cost blowout. That's probably reason number one. Sometimes the data is not accurate enough, so the final outcome is not aligned with the business. And probably the lack of mitigation strategy to make sure that they have the right outcome coming out of it. And there's a lot of examples to talk about that. So I think there is some hype there for sure.
Yeah. So more hype cycle. How about you, Jordan? What are you thinking about it?
I think from my perspective, obviously a huge amount of hype, but also I think people are looking at how do they get the value from AI? How do they actually build something that AI can use? And because of that, we've started to see people using AI for roles in, say, customer support and things like that. And that's being really successful. But I think along with what Dariush said, you can't ignore the human factor in all of this, because if I've been doing my job a certain way for 3, 4, 10, 15 years, just changing because I've got this new AI tool isn't necessarily going to happen really easily. And that's one of the things that I know Gartner and other analysts have talked about, is you've got this impact of the human who's in the process as well. And there's two considerations there. First, changing my role. And then secondly, and probably more importantly, how does AI affect my role? If I'm a person in a call center, it's very easy to make me an expert by using AI. But if I'm a lawyer and AI is generating maybe contracts or other things, I really need a lot of experience to get to that level of productivity. So I do think we're starting to see AI have an impact in certain roles, but it's not just AI throughout the organization. It's very specific AI sort of use cases for specific roles.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And you mentioned this idea about support, and what I see what we're doing, it's sort of interesting, because we would really like to write a chatbot that's trained on all our user documentation and point it to a customer and let them answer their own questions and find their own knowledge base articles and stuff like that. But because AI today, there's hallucinations. And when you're hallucinating, if let's say we get 90% of them right, we're good. But the 10% that we hallucinate, we're going to cause a problem in a customer environment. So what we've decided to do at Nutanix is we've said, well, we're going to build an LLM and train it on our user documentations, but we're not going to expose it to the customer. It's just too early. And this is sort of the hype, right? This idea that we could just be there tomorrow. But what we're doing is we're exposing it to our support engineers, and we're making our support engineers more productive. So rather than say it goes straight to a customer, there's a human that's going, yeah, that's good, I'll use that. I just sped up my response rate and my ability to service these customers, much faster, 30-40% faster in terms of productivity. And so that's the kind of thing that I think organizations are still sort of experimenting with the hype, but trying to find value. And the value is in, finding safety, finding comfort, and not going too quickly.